down my hair. Hurry now and don't be late, 'cause we ain't got time to chat. You and me, we're going out to catch the latest sounds. Guaranteed to blow your mind so high you won't come down. Hey, y'all, prepare yourself for the rubber band. Man, you've never heard a sound like a rubber band. Man, you're bound to lose control when the rubber band starts to jam. Oh, this dude is out of sight.
All right, guys, you want to get this started? We got a lot
sure.
of nonsensical nonsense, and I guess we have to celebrate the end of the 2020 election because it's already over. All right, well, anyway, I am Justin Woods, and this is the Woodscast. Wish me per the usual is my younger and more handsome brother.
Yes.
I mean, he's the only data point I'm using is Shay Woods, but
Sometimes the data point is so good, that's all you need. Your sample size can suck my butt.
all right. That doesn't statistically hold up, but all right. Good to talk to you, Shay. And with us today, we got a gaggle of asshats, including myself and Shay. John, what's going on? John's our buddy from the Bluegrass. Been on before.
We're doing great.
Doing great. How are all the children's treating you?
They're assholes and everything else that you could expect.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad you had these on purpose. Very glad you had these on purpose. That's
Well, it's too late to really worry about that at this point. They're here.
Can't return them.
Yeah, they're here to stay. Also, we got our buddy Adam from West Virginia, Mountain State. What's going on? And with us back again is our buddy Dave. Dave's in the Centennial State with Shay. What's going on, Dave?
It's going terrific.
It's always good when we spread this fucker out over three time zones because that's easy to coordinate. Hey, Shay, did I ever tell you I figured out why they call the Colorado the Centennial State?
Yeah, you did, but I don't remember.
It was 100 years after the. It was made a state 100 years after the Civil War and all that nonsense.
Oh, okay.
See, that's a fact.
Revolutionary War? You mean Declaration of Independence?
Yep.
Yeah.
All that jazz.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So today on the pod, we have a lot of nonsense to talk about that is pretty specific to the Democratic Party because we don't have a candidate yet. So we'll do the weekly numbers and poll. Talk about some polls. We got some. I got an apology I give to John. We got random news that was just frustrating the fuck out of me. Trump is in North Korea again for some fucking reason, and he made some firsts there, but firsts aren't necessarily good. I would like to ask you guys why the hell we're not at war with Iran right now, and how surprised I am about that. And finally, but not less hilarious, we've got the Democratic debate, the two-night 20 person woo fuckery. And I'll give you guys an insight into what Alex Jones thought about all that. So it's deep, let me tell you. God, what an idiot.
Are Satanists involved?
Pretty much. I mean, as far as Alex Jones is concerned, anytime two Democrats get together, they've already eaten a baby. So it's just
that's a good point.
Yeah, and there's a child sex ring. So
yeah,
that's all it is.
It's just
Bohemian Grove, dude.
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is, what's that?
I was going to say, which one of you guys brought the baby this time? I know it wasn't my turn.
No, it's we did a baby last podcast. It's every other podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but what's funny is like Alex Jones says he's doing all that shit in hyperbole, but he will spend literally 30 minutes talking about how the head Democrat, aka vampire, will kill the baby and drink the blood. Then he leaves it for all the lesser Democrats, aka vampire. I mean, it's just. I mean, you can hear him getting hard talking about it. So it's
is there like a hierarchy like wolves have of like what organs you get to eat depending on how awesome of a Republican you are?
It's pretty much like that because he talks about how like the head vampire will drink the blood, and then his female because he based all this off of some fucked up interpolation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. So then the female vampires come and take the juicy bits, and then the Renfields get what's left, and he's never read that book nor seen that movie start to finish, so it's all just gibberish. Okay, so weekly numbers. I am on my third or fourth beer. The Trump administration has been going on 891 days. Those things are directly connected. Shay, you're the only one I'm aware of that has a North Korea challenge coin, and it has been 386 days since Donald Trump took all of North Korea's nukes, and they high-fived about it. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. As of now, we have 3,352 Q drops. That dipshit went dark in like May 26th. It was didn't post any of his quote unquote intel drops for over 31 days, and people were literally shitting themselves, and like a panic to say like he's just gonna. There's something. It was so funny because like on the little boards that they post all the racist shit, it was like, well, maybe he wasn't really, a close advisor to the president, and then it was like, no, he totally was, and he's just waiting to tell something really big later. And when he like finally came back after a month, it was like, be ready, Q. Like that was always that. I mean,
as anybody else, this is what's so fucking. This is the bullshit, man. The president went to fucking North Korea.
mm-hmm.
Just the concept of that is fucking ridiculous. The Korean War is technically not over. They're also gigantic pieces of shit. Do you think they just like held hands and compared notes about concentration camps? Because that's some pretty dope shit right there, man. I bet they got some pretty good ideas they could got together.
Well, I feel like at this point, playing Imagine if Obama had done this is like,
yeah.
It's almost a Lovecraftian recipe for driving yourself insane at this point. But I think there is some value in a foreign policy analysis standpoint to imagine what the Fox News coverage would be of Obama buddying up with Kim Jong-un and there being like no measurable progress on the denuclearization of North Korea to show for it.
Yeah,
right.
That was like the first line off of the CNN article was like, no, first of all, for those of you listening that don't know this, Donald Trump did go to North Korea today. Like early, it was I don't know, it's like midday wherever the hell in North Korea. That was like really early for us, I think. So when I woke up, it already fucking happened. But he did go to the South Korean side, walked up to the demilitarized zone, met Kim Jong-un there. They like had some pleasantries. It looked like he was trying to sell him a box of Girl Scout cookies, and then he invited him to step over into the North Korean side, and he did. So he is technically the first president to ever step foot on North Korean soil. Excuse me.
Yeah, it's just a pageantry, man.
But that doesn't mean the first is good.
Pander to his face. It's awful. He shouldn't have done it. It's inappropriate. That's my point.
Yeah.
Fact check. First president while in office, Bill Clinton went to North Korea after leaving the presidency.
Well, see, that's just fake news. That's just fake news. Well, and the thing is like, and Adam, to your point, like we want to play the look through the what if Obama had done this magic 8-ball. We already know the answer to that because when Barack Obama was running for president, he said, "Listen, I would sit down and meet with these dictators without pre-acknowledged conditions just to get them to the table, but we're not going to give them anything. We just need to talk to them." And he was called the biggest pussy who ever pussed.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was, it was just it wasn't even a thing.
The bad faith in this area is kind of astounding, specifically with regard to using the Iran deal as the JCPOA as a comparison point. The extent to which Barack Obama and John Kerry and Ben Rhodes and everybody who was involved with that just got blasted by the right-wing media apparatus for being pussies and selling out the United States and this and that and making deals with people we don't like. At least in the case of the Iran deal, there was a measurable concession from the other side. That's far more than we have with North Korea. They've committed to nothing, but they've been conveyed the legitimacy of parlaying with the president on an international stage.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's a huge problem.
Like, I don't watch North Korean propaganda TV, but I imagine it is full of clips of Kim Jong-un being up in front of the United States flag and the North Korean flag being shown as shaking hands with the President of the United States. That's a huge propaganda coup for him domestically.
Mm-hmm. His grandfather had wanted this. He had his grandfather had wanted this. His father had wanted this. He had wanted this. And, to Donald Trump's credit, it's not like being lied to by North Korea is anything new. Like, by my math, he's the 12th or 13th president that's been just fucking lied to by them. But, he's going to get hoodwinked. But these one-on-one meetings are what he really wants. Or, I'm sorry, what Kim Jong-un wants. Because he needs to separate Donald Trump from the advisors. Because, Mike Pompeo and Michael Bolton, as much of a shits as they are as far as international policy and war hawkiness goes, like, they know that North Korea will lie to him and just tell him pretty little lies, and then go chugging along on their their weapons program. And Donald Trump will smile and go, "See, he called me a really, really great guy and sent me a large, nice letter." And by large, I mean it's like 18 by 17 cardstock. Like, I don't get it. But yeah, like they know that.
Those are both good points. I mean, I think legitimizing that regime is deplorable, and that's absolutely that is the only thing that the Trump administration has accomplished. With this entire process, any of these talks. He's getting love letters from his buddy Kim, and honestly, what Kim wants is he wants. You're absolutely right. He doesn't want an audience for any of this. Around any advisors or anything like that, because it does allow him to basically proceed with his weapons program. And then at that point, I mean, that's their goal is to get that. They'll never give them up, and they're a danger in the region, and I mean, what kind of economic goals do you think North Korea is striving for? I mean, do you think they like that they're going to be a bustling, capital of industry like Trump's like presenting to them? Like they're not buying that shit. That's ridiculous. I mean, their end goal is just to remain like this completely totalitarian state that like really only supports its upper class, but like now they can buy they don't have to buy cheap Chinese knockoffs of everything. These people are fucking horrible.
They can maybe get a Trump hotel here. So.
Yeah. To John's, Trump kept Trump kept telling them how awesome their beachfront property was. He's like, "Oh, just gonna develop the shit out of that," and they're like, "Oh, it's great. We'll have condos and no food."
The Korean Riviera, dude. Is that what he's going for?
Yeah. I mean, it is really dumb.
There are a lot of natural resources in North Korea, though, and that is very true. They could be a wealthy country if they mined all of that. But wealthy for who? They don't have the infrastructure to do it.
Right.
And I think that maybe from a business standpoint, that's something that Trump's getting like a little bit of a boner about. I don't know.
I think he's just getting a boner that he gets talked to nicely.
I do look forward to the news of a bunch of Trump-branded condos being built in North Korea and bought by like 40 guys named Vladimir. But
yeah, that'll definitely be how that goes. That'll definitely be how that goes. Speaking of the advisors that Kim Jong-un wants to keep out of the way, I was reading today that he took Jared and Ivanka, and he didn't take fucking Bolton. He took Tucker, I'm a white nationalist, Carlson. Like, primetime white nationalists went fucking North Korea.
Wait, are you talking about on this North Korea trip?
Yes!
Fucking Tucker Carlson went on this?
Yes!
Well, that's insane.
Holy shit.
Not to change the subject too much, but Tucker Carlson might be like the most impactful foreign policy advisor this administration has right now, because I mean, scuttlebutt is Tucker Carlson is who talked him out of bombing Iran.
Right. Yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah.
And Trump doesn't like Bolton either. I mean, Trump really doesn't like him. He didn't make the cut in the first round when he was hiring the best people. So I don't know.
Yeah, like I'm sitting here reading this and I'm like, oh, it's such a historic day. And then they interview Ivanka about what it was like to step into North Korea, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute. The handbag lady got to go?
Yeah.
Do you see? There's like a Instagram video or something like that where Ivanka tried to butt into like a conversation with a whole bunch of European leaders, and
oh my god, it's painful.
They just kind of give her the side eye, like
they look and they're like, who the fuck?
Adults are talking.
Yeah. You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of like you're at a bar with your buddies, and then there's this really drunk guy who just wants to talk to all of you, and he walks up and he's like outside of the circle and he's like, yeah, man, I like Transformers too, or whatever the fuck you guys are talking about. And everybody just kind of turns and looks at him, and then goes back to whatever they're doing.
And obviously you were talking about Godzilla.
Yeah. And how cool Godzilla is, right, Shay?
Damn straight.
All right.
My plan is when I'm back in West Virginia, in Huntington for a few days, my friends are all going to be working, so I need to go see that again.
That's a good idea.
Yep.
But yeah, I was
Maybe that new Child's Play movie too. That shit looks hilarious.
You gonna go to the arcade bar when you're in Huntington?
Do what?
You gonna go to that new arcade bar when you're in Huntington?
Sure, I didn't know there was one. That sounds fancy.
Yeah.
There's an arcade bar.
Yeah. So, Trump went to North Korea, and he took Tucker Carlson for some fucking reason. And actually, that explained a lot to me, because I watch Fox News a lot, and the night, the night before all that happened, Tucker Carlson was doing his show from Japan. And I know we had the G20 going on, but, like, Fox News doesn't go to that shit. Like,
Yeah, they don't care.
yeah, Sean Hannity...
That's a bunch of globalist nonsense, dude.
Right, yeah, like, actually, that's complicated things that they can't talk about how the brown people are the problem. So, like, you know, they just don't go, they don't worry about it. And so Tucker Carlson's like, well, first of all, I have to point out that Tucker Carlson did do his, like, hey, guys, we shouldn't let the foreigners in spiel in Japan, because he's like, hey, look, they don't let in any immigrants, and their train stations are so clean. Like, this guy can't not be a fucking xenophobic prick, even when he's on vacation. Like, he did a whole walk around in one of their train stations. Like, see how clean it is? There's nobody doing drugs. There's nobody, like, picking imaginary, like, fairies out of the sky. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Wait, yeah, but that's it's all a show. And first of all, there aren't like, I mean, you guys know how North Korea works. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's all bullshit. You're you're constantly.
Well, he was in
surrounded
Japan
by
at the time.
minders. You know, they put on, you know, it's just a show. It's a show for everybody that visits. In Japan? Oh.
Yeah, he was in Japan.
I thought you were talking about, because I was surprised. I'm like, Tucker Carlson was walking the streets of Pyongyang, dude. Like, that's pretty,
No, he was in Japan. He did his remote from Japan the night before, and then I guess they all hopped into the plane and went to North Korea. If anybody's listening and really does want to, like, hear or watch, I'm sorry, not just hear, Vice did a really cool documentary about going to North Korea. It's on YouTube somewhere. I watched
the Vice Guide to Travel. Yeah, North Korea.
Yeah. And,
I think that was before Vice sucked.
Yeah, I mean,
but
Vice
but after Steve McGinnis left. So
yeah, Gavin McGinnis had already been jettisoned, and but yeah, Vice has its fucking problems. I'm not unaware of that. But like, yeah, they did this really cool thing, like where they tried to go to North Korea and they didn't get the proper permits, and then like the guys in China were like, no, you just go to China and then they just smuggle your ass in. He's like, cool, and they just got smuggled in like everybody else, and it was really pretty cool.
I actually thought that. I mean, as far as documentary goes, and you know, knowing that we're going to talk about Iran later, I don't know if anybody ever saw a Koppel on Iran that he did, like, I don't know, 8-9 years ago, but that was amazing too.
Oh, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, it's a really kind of deep dive into, you know, just the Iranian culture and, like, you know, their middle class and like what they think about us, and you know, going and kind of meeting everybody. And I have a feeling that attitudes haven't changed that much there. But anyways, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we kind of did things a little out of yes. The moral of the story is Donald Trump went to North Korea for no fucking reason at all. We didn't get anything out of it. He got a photo op. Nobody's surprised. We kind of skipped over some stuff. So polling right now, Donald Trump is right the fuck where he is. All the polling, like Gallup has him -12, approval, disapproval. 538 has him -10.5. Real Clear Politics, which is another aggregate site that, you know, so that it's just an aggregate of all the polls. I guess I would have to check on which ones they include or disclude. He actually had a good bump there. He's only -7.5 now. He actually did get a good bump there. Like I've talked to you guys before, I at least talked to Shay. I don't know if John ran off to get a drink. You guys, I wish we recorded video to watch. Everybody could watch John just scuttle off to the kitchen real quick. He's very motivated. But anyway, I'm really only paying attention to like these 6 states: Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Ohio, and Florida. Those are states that were flipped from Obama to Trump. And so, yeah, I don't really give a shit about national polling, especially since the Democrats don't have a candidate yet. So, and we'll talk about that later. But, like, as of last month, they haven't updated it for June yet, but Trump's still Wisconsin -13, Michigan -16, Pennsylvania -7, Iowa -12, Ohio -4, and Florida's dead even. So, like, he you know, we talked about this several times, but he threaded, is that the word? Threaded a needle?
Yeah.
All right. He threaded a needle in 2016, and these numbers tell me that he may or may not be able to do that again. So those are the poll numbers I always read off at the top. I have an apology to John. We skipped ahead of my apology to John. John, I'm sorry that I always bring up Crocs and Crocs-related things and tag you on Facebook, but you're the only person I know with any direct connection to the Crocs brand.
It's getting old. Not necessarily you tagging me in them, but it's been a long time since I've actually been connected with Crocs.
Yeah.
At all.
John worked at a Crocs store 8 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, we're probably even more than 8 now. It's
right. And what I wanted to say is that I probably won't stop doing it.
I didn't figure you would.
But I would like to apologize, but we all probably have some connection to a shitty retail job. Like, I know, Shay, you worked at GameStop. You weren't a big fan of that.
Yep.
And I worked at Circuit City, and I like to believe that I had no small part in bringing down that entire company.
You worked at a Circuit City?
Oh, yeah, dude. I was so bad because I would not pay attention to what was on, the special Black Friday deals or whatever deal. And so when some lady would come up to me and was like, "Sir, can I do a rain check on this thing at this price?" I'm like, "Of course we can." And I just throw it into the computer, and then 10 minutes later, I'd be like, "Don, did it again."
Yeah.
You know what probably sucked for Circuit City too is when they had to sell all their retail space and all that shit. It was just a giant fucking red cube.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody wants to rent that shit. Bad call. But
well, also the one in Barbersville, West Virginia, was turned into a Chinese restaurant.
that could work out. I can see that working out.
Yeah.
Yeah. No shit.
I worked in a convenience store for 3 years. It fucking sucked.
Yeah. Adam, anything?
Yeah, actually, my first job, I worked in a fireworks warehouse.
Ooh,
nice.
I'm intrigued.
And this is going to be something that is interesting to lawyers and nobody else, but the way that
I think
fireworks...
a lot of those listen to this podcast.
Yeah. So the way fireworks laws worked out in West Virginia at the time was that it was legal to sell the real fireworks to out-of-state residents in West Virginia, but not to in-state residents. So therefore, the eastern panhandle of West Virginia, which is about 23 miles wide, stuck between Maryland and Virginia, was like a fireworks sales capital of the region.
Yeah.
So I ended up working in a fireworks warehouse in high school, and that thing was I'm sure the reason it continued to stay in business was that any OSHA inspector who walked in the door had a stroke and was never heard from again. But
it wasn't that one that burned down back in the 90s, was it?
It was not.
That was Crazy Coup fireworks, I believe. One that exploded.
Yeah. God damn. I worked at Mac and Dave's for several summers in college, and that was an interesting experience. If anyone wants to talk about middle America or low income people and how they don't know how to how it's all their fault or whatever, you should work a pawn shop for a while and see how fucking predatory that shit is. You walk in, first thing Monday morning, and somebody's like, "I'll blow you if you pawn this TV," and you're like, "What?" Man, I haven't even had my coffee yet. What the fuck? No, it's an experience. Fucking old ladies bringing in loaded guns to pawn. I'm like, Jesus. No. All right, so I apologize to John. It's probably gonna happen again.
Yeah, fuck you.
There we go. All right, we talked about Trump, North Korea. Let's skip ahead to some stuff that both Dave and Adam have brought up. We are not at war with Iran, and I am honestly pleasantly surprised.
Amazing.
I know.
Yeah, well, I think it was just a fucking dick swinging power move. It's just a show, man. He was never gonna fucking.
Well, I think you are correct for some reasons and wrong in other reasons. Let me do a real quick rundown. Anybody chime in if you think I'm fucking something up. So, first of all, was it June 13th? Some tankers were attacked in the Gulf there, or the Strait. I believe it's called Strait.
Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, Strait of. Is it? Say that again.
Hormuz.
Strait of Hormuz.
Hormuz. I was gonna say vermouth, so that I'm glad
Yeah,
you said that again.
that's what I heard. I heard vermouth.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, is that where they make vermouth, dude?
Ooh.
Sounds much better to me.
Yeah. So, two oil tankers were attacked. They were not American. They were actually Japanese tankers and Swiss tankers, I believe.
I think they were flying a flag out of I can't fucking remember where, but yeah,
they were not American. They were not American tankers.
It was Japanese owned, yeah.
Yeah, and so immediately Pompeo and Bolton will not stop saying that it was Iran. On the 20th of June, one of our drones was shot down. It was a surveillance drone worth about over $200 million. It was popped out of the sky by Iran. They say it was in their airspace. We say it was not in their airspace. I have not seen a very good argument either way. I don't trust this administration as far as I can throw Donald Trump. So the fact that they say it was not in their airspace doesn't really, persuade me. Bolton and Pompeo still say that it was Iran. Trump apparently on the 21st was I hate to say it, this feels so weird in my mouth. Trump said that they were cocked and locked, and ready to go for a strike. But then at the last minute, Trump, and this is his story that he told Chuck Todd, I believe.
So historic.
He said at the last minute, 10 minutes before the strike was apparently supposed to go. And Trump has, of course, told some conflicting stories. At one point, he said that the planes were in the air and he called them back. Then later, he said they were not in the air yet. But whatever. 10 minutes before go time, he apparently then turned to the generals and said, hey, how many people are going to be killed? They said, hold on, we'll get back to you, sir. So they go off. And to quote Trump, he goes, good generals we got there. Great guys. And then they come back and they tell him about 150 Iranians are going to be killed after the strike is done. He goes, well, that's too many. It was only a drone. It didn't have a pilot. And then
that's not how it works.
Yes, exactly. That is complete horseshit. In this day and age, every tactical scenario that's brought in front of the president you're given what the collateral damage could be in all aspects, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's people, whether it's civilians. Like the president, when he orders a strike like this, they know that information.
Unless they are really just running a clown college.
Well, there is...
But the Department of Defense, there's no way that they don't fucking give him all the information.
Yeah.
Like, at first, that's the one.
Well, it doesn't mean he fucking reads it.
I was gonna say he either didn't listen the first time, or if we said something and he didn't read it.
Yeah.
Valid point.
That is a side note that I would like to put a pin on and maybe get back to, is the fact that Donald Trump has completely checked out of actually running the armed forces. He likes to talk about it. He's going to wallow in this July 4th parade. He's going to throw himself. But like the actual nuts and bolts of killing other people in the name of freedom, I don't give a shit about it.
But if they can get him some votes.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's a website called There's Always a Tweet. So, now the tweet that everybody loves to share is the one that back in 2012, he was like, Obama's going to start a war with Iran because he's going to try to get reelected. And
I saw that too. It's ridiculous.
We're about 12 months out from that happening on our end. So,
I think this is. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to think this is what we're going to go with. I'd like to think that he knows that that's not a good idea, because he won't win re-election if he starts a war with Iran. It's just, I think that will hurt his chances. I mean, he campaigned on getting us out of. I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I think that's absolute complete campaign suicide, and he knows it.
I don't know if it can make it really any worse than everything he's does already. I mean, I don't think it's going to change minds, the people who hate him.
His base, I like to associate his base, like the actual hard floor number, with the number of people who are for building the border wall for $1,000 billion, whatever the fuck it is. It's 38% of America thinks building a border wall is the best idea ever. And that's kind of like his hard floor. And those people don't want a new ground war in the Middle East. They just don't. He campaigned on it. They don't like it. That's why, Adam, you were saying before, Tucker Carlson might be our goddamn ace in the hole here, because he apparently called Donald Trump and had a one-on-one conversation with Donald Trump and said, your base and the Republicans that support you do not want you to get into a conflict with Iran. And that's kind of where, and I think Adam's exactly right. That's what made Trump pull back at the very last minute, because his base liked the fact that in the 2016 election, he was the one saying, we don't need to get in these stupid wars, and Hillary Clinton will get you into a stupid war. Now, I don't believe the second half of that sentence at fucking all, but, you know, the first half they at least were on board with.
Keep in mind, though, his base also doesn't care for brown people all that much either, so...
Right. But
that is true. But when you get people that were veterans of, like, you know, the war in Iraq or Afghanistan, and you get that first casualty that is the child of one of those people, I think that's gonna hit a nerve, dude.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll bomb them at some point. I really do, because we'll bomb anywhere in the fucking globe. We don't give a shit about that, because that's that's just tactical ordnance. Somebody has to fly in, drop it, and then fly out. You don't get a massive casualty report.
Well, shoot, we can shoot stuff from, like, 1,000 miles away just about now. So it's,
oh yeah. Well,
and a trailer in Arizona.
yeah, exactly.
Well, and I don't know if you guys heard this, but did you guys hear the audio of Trump explaining to he was sitting beside the president of Poland, and he was explaining to the press that the
guy's
drone,
an asshole too, but whatever.
Oh yeah, whatever. They're just over there doing an Eiffel Tower over fucking freedom, but Trump was explaining to the press that the drone did not have a guy in it.
Yeah, I know. It was a plane, or he described it as a manless plane, or some shit like that. Yeah. It was fucking. It was. It's like, yeah, that's called a drone, buddy.
Yeah. John Oliver.
Like when my dad calls me up to ask me how to fucking fix something on his computer, it's the same kind of shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, John
What
Oliver.
would I type in Google to find that?
Yeah. Yeah. John Oliver had a great line. He's like, yeah, if it had a pilot in it, and I'm going to throw some military jargon at you, it'd be called a plane.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So that was. I'm actually just beside myself. I mean, Donald Trump did the right thing, I believe, and somehow still looked like a doofus doing it.
Yep. He's just a bump. He's just fucking. He bumbles everything, dude.
Yeah. So
there's everything action.
The biggest fumble was him trying to pat himself on the back for calling off the strike that he ordered in the first place. But
right. Right, exactly. He looked like such a fucking jackass, and he's trying to be like, no, the human cost was too much. He was trying to pull Trump the humanitarian out of his ass. The same way he's gunning for that Nobel Peace Prize.
God,
he wants that thing so bad.
I know he does. He wants it so bad.
And okay, now listen to a little side note. Even Barack Obama has admitted, and Barack Obama's staffers have admitted, that Barack Obama getting the Nobel Peace Prize was the dumbest fucking thing ever.
He just got it for being the first black president. That's what he got it for.
Well, technically he got it for changing the, I don't want to say temperature, but changing the rhetoric between Muslims and the Christian world.
And what he did his speech in Cairo? Was that what he got it for?
It was basically that.
He got it.
Go ahead, Adam.
He got it for his stance on nuclear non-proliferation, which was a reducing of the temperature in the U.S. nuclear arsenal. He was more willing to, I guess, put the U.S. nuclear arsenal on the table for multilateral nuclear disarmament compared to previous administrations, and that's what he got it for.
He got it for having an opinion and an agenda. Yeah, for actually doing anything. Oh, that's. I didn't know that. I didn't know that that's exactly what he got it for. I'm just like, oh, he got a Nobel Peace Prize. I'm like, he's barely been president. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, whatever.
Well, and he and his staff were kind of like, oh, come on now, guys. Like, they even knew that it was kind of horseshit.
Yeah.
But they went along with it. And the fact that he got it, and Trump will never get one, and actually has nominated himself several times now, and then, like, I think they even falsified one. Like, somebody falsified a nomination?
Oh, no, he had Shinzo Abe,
right.
He had Shinzo Abe nominate him for
Yeah.
that shit. Oh, my God, that's so ridiculous. Side note, there's a good
I have not
line
heard
as well
that.
where...
That is hysterical.
Yeah, he has... there's a... For the thing, but there's also another really good front line that basically correlates Obama just fucking ruining him at the correspondence dinner as to, like, when he decided he was going to run for president. Yeah. It's amazing. Watch it if you haven't seen it.
Oh, yeah. He internalized the shit out of that. The same way
because he just got ripped on.
Yeah, the same way that fucking Kanye West really internalized when Barack Obama called him a jackass. I've never, Barack Obama, I think, was a great president. There's things I agree with, things I disagree with. He was drone striking the shit out of people, but like I will 1,000% stand behind Barack Obama's statement that Kanye West is a jackass from now until the day I die.
True.
Yeah.
Like,
Agreed.
like that's easy to get behind. All right, so the other thing about this Iran kerfuffle we got going on is that we are, and Adam mentioned this earlier, and so did Dave. We are basically butthurt that Iran is not abiding by an agreement that we have unilaterally pulled out of for reasons I can't fucking understand. The best case scenario
because Barack Obama negotiated it.
You know
okay,
why.
that's it. Okay, yeah, that's all I got. That's all I fucking got. Because
That's it.
Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, Mark Levin, all of them are like, it was a horrible deal, it was stupid, we were giving them a nuclear weapon. But I mean, you can look up the fucking deal. Their refineries went from 20,000 different refineries to 5,000 refineries. The uranium stockpiles went from we reduced the uranium stockpiles they could have on hand.
Well, there were
any time.
limits on like the percentage of enriched, like
Exactly.
you know.
Stockpile went down.
Yeah.
Stockpile went down 98%. There were limits on what percentage of uranium they could process. It was at 3.2 or 3.5%, something that was way low to make a nuclear weapon. There were 90-day inspections, and then if the IAEA requested a random inspection at any time, they had 24 days to comply. A lot of people like Sean Hannity likes to be like, oh, you can clean up anything in 24 days.
You can't move that kind of infrastructure in 24 fucking days.
Well, actually, I would like to point out that you can't unirradiate shit in 24 days. Like if you're doing if you're making nuclear weapons, you just can't like clear out all the equipment and just have a hollow room and be like,
sweep it
nope.
under the rug, dude.
Yeah, we totally weren't doing anything here. Yeah,
It
so-
was a
Flush
good
that
deal.
shit.
yeah, you
Flush
flush
it.
it in an American standard toilet, hopefully, or it'll clog.
I feel like that would make a good scene of a movie, though.
Yeah. Yeah, sidebar, everybody should watch Chernobyl. Best fucking show on the planet.
It was amazing.
Good stuff.
It was very well done. Very well done. But yeah, honestly, it was a good deal. There was no reason to not get out of it. Honestly, the whole point of the deal was to move us further away from the brink of any sort of armed conflict or otherwise with Iran. And it was benefiting, their middle class, their, economy was starting to grow again. They were able to trade with partners. It was a win-win. I mean, it was actually, I think if a continued foreign policy like that towards Iran would eventually work and eventually aid in a, not like full-blown regime change in Iran, but, perhaps like, more democratic Iran in the long run. I mean, it was good policy, and abandoning that just simply because the dude before that you bitched about and said it was a bad we that was his only, like you said, his only reason for it. But here's the thing: is now there's no deal, and now Iran. I mean, we still had European partners. There were still parts to deal with them, but now Iran. I mean, what was it, just this week where they decided, or 2 weeks ago where they decided, nah, fuck it, we're gonna, and basically openly announced that, hey, we're gonna start doing this again, pretty much, unless there's sanction relief.
I forgot to say the other side of that. Like, we got all those things on their nuclear weapons program, and they got, like Dave said, a relaxation of a lot of the sanctions we'd have in place to keep their economy, a stranglehold on their economy. And since we pulled out of it, the rest of the European people, I don't have the list in front of me. I can look it up here, but the rest of the European people that signed on, countries that signed on there, they're still there, but we're the stick. We're the stick in that agreement. Nobody else is gonna fucking carpet bomb them if they fuck this up, and and like Dave said, they have announced like within the next week or so, they are going to break the limit of the agreement of the amount of fissional material they have on hand at any one time, and they're going to start processing it at upwards of 20%, which is weapons grade uranium. So.
I also want to point one other fucking thing out that really did make me giggle about this week was when this happened, I think Trump tweeted something and it was directed towards Ayatollah Khomeini.
Yeah.
But he still thought that he was like the big bad. He was the first Ayatollah. He said that, and I think that was after they called him no joke, direct interpretation, a fucking retard, basically.
Yeah.
They said the word retard. They don't know that we don't use that anymore, which makes it so much funnier.
I got a great that whole thing just gave me a great visual of John Bolton with a Ouija board, threatening sanctions against the dead Ayatollah.
He's over there like, I'm gonna get this fucker.
John Bolton's such a piece of shit. Yeah, I mean, him being such an Iran hawk, I think that's as soon as he was entering the administration, I was just like, well, there goes Iran, and he used to be such a huge nuclear, North Korea hawk too, still is, but knows that he can't do anything with that.
Well, he's the last guy that's walking around going, that Iraq war, that was the tits.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. He still thinks it was.
You remember how much fun we all had with that?
Yeah. We just pissed away $4 trillion in 5,000 American lives, but goddamn it, we showed them that they're better off without us there.
Well, and the lasting healthcare cost, which is probably going to be, it's going to wind up being $7 trillion more than likely. And that is not adjusted for inflation.
And Trump basically joked that Bolton was going to try to lead him into a war when he brought him on board.
Oh yeah. But
that's hilarious.
And that's the thing is Trump knows that the people that work for him are absolute fucksticks, and he's like, yeah, I can't stand him. His mustache is stupid, but what are you going to do? Well, you have him tossed out of the second floor window of the White House. That's what you do.
Why don't you just stop working for this fucking administration, dude? Holy crap!
Yeah.
And Trump couldn't hire John Bolton until after he had fired Ty Cobb, because you can only have one ridiculous mustache per administration.
Yeah. If they talk,
that's pretty good.
Their mustaches start to entwine, and then it's just weird. Yeah.
Well,
that makes me.
That might be kind of hot.
Like that.
Yeah,
now, I have a question for you guys. Have you guys heard of the Millennium Challenge 2002?
No.
All right.
I don't think so.
So, in this talk, in this discussion of how we're going to go over, and we're going to apparently have another ground war in the Middle East with Iran, and it's going to be super sweet. You've got people, dipshits like Congressman Tom Cotton, who said there will be 2 strikes in the war with Iran: the first strike and the last strike.
Oh yeah, I heard.
That guy is a walking corn cob, so fuck that guy. But so apparently, back in 2002, we conducted a military war games that was part computer simulations and part actual ships out in the sea in the Middle East. The sides were blue and red. Now, blue was, of course, the United States. Red was either Iraq or Iran. There's strong indications that this entire thing was set up to be Iran. So they started the war game with a and they put the war game. The guy in charge of the red team was Lieutenant General Paul Van Ripper. Not making that up. That's the guy's real fucking name. It's badass. He should be a super
dope.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. So when it started, you've got the red commander, the red team commanded by Paul Van Ripper, adopted an asymmetric strategy, in particular using old methods to evade Blue's sophisticated electronic surveillance network. Ripper used motorcycle messengers to transmit orders to frontline troops, and World War II-style light signals to launch airplanes and radio communication. The red team received an ultimatum from the blue team, essentially a surrender notification, giving them 24 hours to surrender. Thus, this warned of the blue team's approach, and red used a fleet of small boats to determine the position of all of blue team's fleet. Second day of the exercise, in a preemptive strike, red launched a massive salvo of cruise missiles that overwhelmed blue's forces' electronic sensors and destroyed 16 warships. This would equivalent to about 20,000 service personnel if this was done in real life. Soon after the cruise missile offensive, another significant portion of the Navy was sunk. A Blues Navy was sunk by that small armada of red boats, and in a combination of like coerce, nighttime like planting bombs on the side of it, and then just suicide attacks. At this point, the operation was suspended. Blue ships were quote unquote refloated, and the rules of engagement were changed. So that the blue side could do more of this test battle simulation. And this is what the general of blue said. He says, "You kill me in the first day, and I sit here for the next 13 days doing nothing, or you put me back to life, and you get 13 more days worth of experiments out of me. Which is better to do?" And then they basically rewrote the terms of the experiment so that after the war game was restarted, participants were forced to a pre-described script so that the blue force would win. The things they made them do was like the red force had to turn on their anti-aircraft radar so that the blue force would know where they were. The red team wasn't allowed to shoot down any of the aircraft that would be bombing them. It was absolutely just an absolute woo-fuckery after that point. So in 2002, we did a war game about what it would be like to attack Iran, a country that has a hardened military force that has been fighting this region for fucking decades, and we got.
Can I stop you for a second?
We got fucking.
Does that take into account like foreign forces that they have, and like in Lebanon, and like Hezbollah, and forces that are in Oman, and that's just simply attacking the Iranian, like the country of Iran, not taking into account any of that extraneous bullshit out there.
Right. That does not take into account.
I mean, they've got all those fast boats. I mean, they really do know the region, man. That would not be a good war. It would be far worse in Iraq. Like, we would get a lot more pushback. If we would be rolled into Baghdad in 3 weeks.
It does not take into account any of the proxy forces that they would then launch against our troops in, Yemen, Iraq, Afghanistan. Like our troops in all these places would immediately be attacked by Iran proxy forces. But that's that. Like that, I brought up that example just to say that like people that think that we're just going to go over there and tip over Iran and go, "Yay, we win."
Iraq is ready for it. Iran is not ready for it. They have an educated middle class. That their people have a lot more to lose. Like they've got a higher percentage of middle class people. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of poverty as well that exists in Iran as well. And I mean that's the base that really that's the base for the entire government. Those people support the government.
There's a unique aspect to Iran as far as the prospect for regime change goes in the region, and I think my gut tells me that this is why people in the neocon right are so have such a hard on for regime change in Iran, is that they have kind of Iran has probably the biggest gap between having an extremely far-right Islamist governing apparatus and a relatively secular, more westernized populace.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Right. I think that, generally speaking, if we were to, I don't know, set the terms of reality so that there was an election in Iran that was totally free and fair, with no interference from the Guardian Council, and any candidate could run, and you could vote for any candidate with no fear of reprisal. Right. If it's a big if, and don't get me wrong, but if Iran were to have a totally free and fair election, as I just described, they would probably elect a fairly moderate secular government. But
I agree.
That is not the elections that have been allowed to happen. So probably the reason that Bolton and his ilk think that Iran is so ripe for regime change is that he has an inclination that there would not be this extended rearguard action by most of the populace after the fact. And he might maybe be right about that from the general Iranian populace point of view, but you got to remember that you don't need the support from the general populace for there to be an extended guerrilla action. I mean, 5% of a population.
Small group of people can fuck stuff up. Yeah.
I mean, you think about how many people in Afghanistan are aligned with the Taliban. It's not a lot, but it's enough to be a pain in our ass for decades.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I land on it. I mean, the people in Iran, they don't want war either. And and honestly, the Iranian regime, I mean, they're at this point right now where I'm not going to say that that they did it right, and I'm not in no way saying that I believe the Iranian government did this, but it's not outside of the realm of their capability, and it's as far as their past behavior, it's not that. I think they're just trying to, if they did do this, the drone, I think they likely did do.
Oh no, they admit to shooting the fucking drone now. Right,
exactly, and even the boat, they might have even done that too. It's like anybody that's saying, oh well, they absolutely didn't do that. I mean, Iran, they do shit like this sometimes.
Yeah.
They're just trying to, gain attention, and it's kind of they're really worried about these sanctions. They're really worried about their economy. They're really, and that's why they're ramping up all this behavior they've been doing in the last like 3 months, really, for all intents and purposes. It's been kind of like building to something like this, right? But beyond this, they're not gonna poke us any harder than that. They're just gonna sit back and wait for the elections and hope that Donald Trump is not reelected. That's what I think.
You had a thought there, John?
I'm good.
Wow, this is good radio.
The best.
No, well,
I'm mesmerized by Shay just puffing.
Yeah,
away.
He is, yeah. Well, like
I'm not trying to interrupt. I got stuff to do, so
Yeah, well, whenever it's just Shay and I, when one of us isn't talking, the other one's either taking a hit or taking a big swig of a drink. But to Adam's point, I can actually back that up. A lot of the guys I'm in grad school with are from Iran, and they know that. I mean, they come over here and they're just. I mean, they assimilate almost uniformly. They have some the extent to which they are, devout Muslims differs from guy to guy. Like my buddy Irfan, he doesn't drink. He doesn't drink alcohol and tries to avoid pork, but
man, he likes some beef hot dogs though.
He does, yeah. When he introduced him to a beef hot dog, his mind was fucking blown because he thought they were all pork. He didn't know that you could have just a beef hot dog. So we gave him a beef hot dog at a cookout one day, and he was just, we just flipped his world upside down. And the other guys that came over with him, Aram, for example, did not adhere to any of that. So like Aram's over there at our house eating all the pork meatballs and shit. So like, they're middle class. The guys that come over here are, they run the gamut, but they're not as hardline as, of course, the leadership is. The supreme leader. And it's just one of those things we gotta fucking work through. As long as we don't start a war with them.
Yeah, it's probably not gonna make them very happy.
No, that'd be a negative. You guys want to take a break before we talk about the Democratic debate and then any fun stuff we got to throw up here?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'd like a break. It's like 800 fucking degrees in this room.
Okay, well, we'll take a break, and while I'm gonna put everybody else on pause, and you guys will listen to a commercial from one of our sponsors, Nuts and Gum. Nuts and Gum, together at last. All right, everybody. We are back. What's that? All right, we are back after the sponsors. It was an ad break. Please support them. All right, so the last thing we need to talk about, and it's kind of why I got all four of you guys together, because I'm on kind of a panel-esque type of thing here. I personally did not watch both nights of the debate. I listened to them as a podcast or on YouTube. I didn't just sit on my couch and stare at them. So I've heard both nights. Oh shit, I meant to bring this up. Give me 1 second. So the Democratic debate, which is about 25 teen people at this point, for fuck's sake, was divided into 2 nights. We all know this. June 26th and June 27th. That was Wednesday and Thursday of this last week. So we are... we're recording this June 30th. I don't think I said that yet. Fuck.
Nope.
All right, we're recording this on...
Start over.
Yep, start over. Back to 1. So we're recording this on Sunday. We've all seen it. So night 1 was Booker, O'Rourke, Warren, Castro, Klobuchar, Ryan, Gabbard, Delaney, de Blasio, and Inslee. Night 2 was Biden, Harris, Sanders, Buttigieg, Bennett, Gillibrand, Hickenlooper, Williamson, Swalwell, and Yang. Do you guys care what they polled in to get into this?
I don't think that mattered so much for
Right.
this first round. We can have the conversation about the qualifications for the next round. But this round, there were 2 candidates that didn't qualify. That one dude that got all butthurt from fucking, what is it? The governor of fucking Montana.
4. There's 4 and now
okay.
5.
All right.
Since the debate, another guy declared. So there's technically 5 Democratic candidates weren't in this shotgun start here.
I would say that like I'm okay with them cutting it in half and saying, hey, we're gonna have 10 people next go around at this point, because I feel it's pretty easy to point out, who the 10 people who may be legitimate candidate at this point.
The criteria for the first one was that they had to poll at they had to poll at least 1% in a minimum of 3 polls. And they had to have... I'm looking for the number here. Damn it.
The fundraising amount, I think... Well, I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, they had that. Hold on. Fundraising, 65,000 unique donors. There you go. That was the criteria for the first one.
And then don't they have to have like so many in each state or something like that? I think there was an even farther than that.
In which candidate must receive donations from a minimum of 65,000 donors, at least 200 unique donors per state.
There you go. Yeah, that's it.
Gotcha.
In at least 20 states. Okay, there we go. So, they had to come up with some kind of criteria, and they came up with we discussed this before. The second debate, which is July 30th and 31st, will have a much stricter criteria. You have to poll at 1% and the same, at least 3 approval polls. What? This is saying the same criteria. This I don't think this is right.
No, I don't know if I listened to it. Was on the.
They reserve the right to basically change the rules as they go, though. So
because I'm looking at
change.
I'm looking at Wikipedia and they've said that it will be more strict to get in the second debate. But whatever. We had 10 people night 1, 10 people night 2. I've listened to both nights of the debate. Has everybody here at least listened and or watched the debates? I don't really care if you did or not.
Yes.
I caught like the last hour of each one and then Googled the moments people were talking about.
Okay. I'm pretty sure Adam watched all of them. Adam is juggling his cell phone for some reason.
Right.
Oh, can you all hear me? I'm having connection issues.
We can hear you fine.
Okay, cool. I watched both of them all the way through.
Cool. All right, so in my head, I have kind of a role for each of you. It doesn't really matter if you fit in that role right now. I guess I just want to, so all 4 of us, I believe everybody here is registered Democrat, right?
Yeah. As far as I know.
Dave?
I don't know if Dave can hear us.
Dave seems
You may have lost Dave, but anyway, yes, I assume he is. But go ahead.
No, so what did everybody think so far? I guess, what's our takeaway at this point? Go ahead, Jake.
I don't know if he can hear us either.
Who?
You.
Oh, I thought he said Shay.
Nope.
Yeah, go ahead, Shay. No, yeah, Shay was talking. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I think the narrative which is going in the media is pretty accurate in the sense that I think Kamala Harris I won't say she came out of left field because she was probably a top 6 or 7, but I think she's asserted herself to be maybe top 2 or 3 with maybe Elizabeth Warren as being the people who could possibly beat Biden at this point. Now we have another month till the next debate, and we're really a long way away from anybody actually voting. So who knows how much that really matters? But that's kind of my initial take as far as if we can get in, we can certainly get in more into particular candidates and whatnot. But it sounds like you have a plan of how you want to address this whole dual debates or whatever you want to call them.
Me or?
Well, you sounded like you had like some way of attacking.
Oh no, I just in my head, I kind of felt that you all would fall in a certain little vein of the Democratic Party because I was pretty sure that we're all Democrats. The only one I didn't know off the top of my head is if Dave was an independent or not.
I registered as a Democrat 2 years ago, so I could participate in the Democratic caucuses out here. But I just haven't gotten around to re-registering as an independent, to tell you the truth. And at this point, I'm not going to vote for a Republican. So what's the fucking point?
That's kind of how I was thinking. So Shay, your thoughts so far, as far as the debate goes?
What's really funny to me is how everyone seems to be surprised that Joe Biden didn't do well in the first debate because dude, he's run for president before and he didn't do well. So this is not new. I think people.
To his defense, he's usually been pretty good in debates. Like he comes off generally as a pretty polished politician. I think it was more of just he was the center of attention of getting hit left and right by other people. And
that's simply a function of the fact that he's the top polling one.
Right.
And then if he drops out, whoever takes place, everyone's going to attack them. So,
but he should have been better prepared, I think.
Yeah. Well, him and Bernie Sanders both, Sanders and him look much older than they did a couple of years. You know what I mean? It's exponential now. Like Bernie Sanders looks way more tired than he did in 2016, and Biden looks way more tired than he did when he was VP, which makes sense. These guys are in their 70s, and I'm not trying to be ageist about it, but I'm sick of all these million-year-old motherfuckers running for president. So, that's just.
And I really like Bernie, and I think he's been an important figure in the last 4+ years now, and changed a lot of what the Democratic Party is focusing on policy-wise, particularly now as we're entering another presidential election. But he's really not saying anything different than he did 2016, and he kind of doesn't really stick out compared to anybody.
Well, yeah, he's a victim.
He definitely moved the Overton window there.
Right, he's shifted the debate within the Democratic Party. He's made the Democratic Party more liberal, which I personally I like it. I'm a fan.
Oh yeah, I think it's great.
I think that's worth noting. But I think as far as I don't know, he's just he's just old. He's an old dude, and people are kind of tired of old dudes. I'm not saying that I wouldn't like Bernie. I think he would be a fine candidate. Well, maybe, as far as electability, if we're really trying to go for the sure shot, or are we trying to be bold? That's a question you got to ask yourself.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Adam, are you still there?
I experienced technical difficulties, so I missed.
Yeah, I do not believe Adam is still there.
Yeah, he looks to be in the black. It looks like there's something there going on, but
yeah. Well, whatever.
He's been moving around a lot.
Yeah.
I think his internet just went down while we were doing this, and he was trying to find an internet spot.
Yeah.
That's what I just had to do. So
kind of to reiterate though what Shay was saying is personally I do tend to gravitate more towards the younger candidates, personally. So.
Well, who do you like? If you had to pick one tomorrow, It was your choice. Who do you like?
I'm pretty high on Buttigieg personally.
You know what? I'm a big Buttigieg fan.
Yeah, he's
I mean,
good.
He's
not
my number 2.
I'm pretty liberal, and he's not the most liberal, but I think
Right.
as far as if you look at everything, like I think is more thoughtful and about policy and everything compared to just about any of them, really.
Right.
And he's currently I think being a mayor of a town might be as hard as being president, quite honestly.
Yeah, and especially a town like in Indiana, dude.
He speaks like 5 languages.
Yeah.
Plays classical piano. Like he's just like.
He's polar opposite of what we have right now. I think he would perform really well on the international stage, even though he hasn't had any experience. He has education doing that. I mean, I think he would be a fine. He's also young as hell, but he would be the youngest president ever elected if that were the case.
Right.
And
how old is he?
I think he's 38.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm not 100% like he's my guy. Like I'm still pretty wide open.
Me either.
I don't even think he performed necessarily the best of everybody, but I think he maintained and probably overperformed for most other people who maybe weren't very familiar with him.
Right. And I mean, I think he's making an impact in Iowa as well. I mean, that's what's really important.
And that's a good point. Is he's probably going to give? I feel like he's going to give Bernie a run for like Iowa and like New Hampshire, and if he does well there, he might last a while, and who knows.
His overall issue, I think, as far as electability, if we're talking about the sure shot, right, is I guess he's not polling really well with like the African American community, and that's going to be a big problem if you want to be like a democratically elected president.
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Sure can.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
We've actually been watching you walk around your apartment for a while now.
Yeah,
I had to do the same thing.
Gigantic. Well, my Wi-Fi went out, so I had to find somewhere that I had a good cell signal.
That's cool. That's cool.
I gotta go get my drink. I'll be right back.
Yeah,
I'll still keep you guys on the can.
So I could hear most of what you guys were saying. I agree
So
with
what's your
it
take?
so far. In that, I think he really got overshadowed by Kamala Harris. Did such a good job of having.
You're saying Biden got overshadowed?
No. I mean, let me finish my thought.
Right.
I kind of agree. I see where he's going.
Kamala Harris did such a good job of getting her obviously pre-planned applause lines in, and that's what like most people take away from debates as good. And I mean, her debate performance overall was very good, but as far as answering questions substantively and in a coherent way that gives me an idea of what they will do as president. I mean, as far as convincing me that they have the head to be the commander-in-chief and the top diplomat and the top policymaker, I think far and away I got to give it to Pete Buttigieg. Nobody.
Damn.
I mean, his answers were thoughtful. His answers were thoughtful, and they showed a person who has a head on their shoulders that I feel comfortable with making decisions of national importance. And yes, to the extent that anybody gives a shit, I, Adam Strider, endorse Pete Buttigieg for president.
There you have it.
Hey, there you go. It's an exclusive.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
He has got it on lock. Might as well just not have the election now.
Well, okay, so we've talked a little bit about our takes away. Like I kind of agree with I kind of agree with everybody who said here. Like I think that Adam is right and that Buttigieg had a strong performance but he's always had strong stances and well developed thoughts that he can project very well. The person I think like swung and missed a lot was like Beto O'Rourke, because Beto O'Rourke was kind of made famous by his direct answer and then explanation. So like when somebody's like, "Hey, do you care about people kneeling for the national anthem?" He says, "No." And let me tell you why. And then he had a very poignant explanation about why you don't have to being a patriot doesn't mean you have to stand for the national anthem. You can protest it and blah 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 blah. He had that answer. You look it up on YouTube. It's what made him famous. In the debates, he was like, Well, let me tell you this really fucking esoteric anecdote and not answer your question for a while. Like it was just very canned bullshit.
And I think part of it came from when Castro basically punched him in the mouth a little bit on immigration, and he just he looked like he kind of shut down and really.
Yeah.
Like I still think he did okay. But I was kind of really excited about him, and like I still don't think he's bad necessarily, but compared to everybody else that like performed those last 2 nights, is like he really kind of went down several notches for me. So maybe he can bring it the next one.
I mean, so we cut out a little bit, and there were 2 things that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to get everybody else's opinion on Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker and their performances. Because I mean, if we're gonna make endorsements, actually Elizabeth Warren's my number 1 choice right now for who I want to run.
Since you started that sentence, she has introduced 3 new plans.
I know. I mean, she's a policy machine.
Yeah,
right.
She's just throwing them out there, and she's like, "I'm not seeing what sticks to the wall and what you like. I'm telling you what's gonna fucking work."
Yeah. I mean, she's like, I'd say over the last several weeks, she's really kind of risen for me. And not that she's really any different, but I think the fact that she's really honed in on policy is a pretty big deal for me. And I don't think she did anything like outstanding debate wise, but she didn't come out looking like out looking like a fool either. So I think she did what she had to do. As far as Booker, I was pretty impressed with him. I'm not saying I don't know if he necessarily becomes like a top 3 or 4 for me, but I think as far as that first debate, I read a lot of people thinking Castro won that debate. I became more impressed with Booker, I would say.
I hate to sound exclusionary and put it in these terms, but Castro was not polling high enough to in that there has to be a certain pre-existing base of support for you to be in a position to have your debate performance propel you into the top tier.
Right.
And Cory Booker was in that position, and Julian Castro just wasn't.
Yeah, I could see that. I'd agree.
I also think that Cory Booker, as just me watching it, was like trying to play it kind of safe. And me personally, I think that Cory Booker will be a great senator for the next 12 years or so, and then run for president later. But right now, he's very one note. He's very kind of
seems
loud.
Kind of like deer caught in headlights to me, man. To tell you the truth, I think. I mean, don't get. It's not that I don't think he has the chops. I personally just don't like the guy. I mean, that's kind of why I land on Cory Booker. I mean, he's pretty close to Wall Street and like a lot of other interests. And I don't know. I think he's Washington, as far as Democrats are concerned.
That brings up a great point, Dave. Like you feel he's too close to Wall Street. You don't personally like him, but I guess I have to ask you guys, and I'll go first. Like, I would personally vote for the Crystal Lady before I voted for Donald Trump. Like there is such a gulf between
100%.
Yeah, there's such a gulf between what the Democratic candidates stand for and want to get done, and what Donald Trump stands for and wants to get done. That, like, my friends, like, I have very conservative friends. Like, well, you just hate Donald Trump, and I'll say, like, no, I don't hate Donald Trump because I have not met Donald Trump. I can't me personally hate a person I haven't met. And Adam Strider.
Different.
Yeah, well, in this podcast, Shay hates Donald Trump for both of us, but what Adam Strider here has helped me do is he's actually refined my point that I don't hate Donald Trump. I hate the fact that he's fucking president. That's the hair I'm going to split. So like
I hate both.
Okay, there you go. But like,
I really didn't care about him until he started running for president.
Exactly, he wasn't on my radar until he started running for president. So like when all these people talk about how I talked to Rachel, and she's like, so who we vote for? It's like, and Rachel and I are talking about like Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Pete Buttigieg. Like those are like our probably top 3 we keep batting around. And maybe like Rachel lets us talk about, like, she's like, I would vote for that possum I drive by every morning on my way to work before I vote for Donald Trump. Like Like, she has a list of fucking things, and it's like that empty mop bucket that we have downstairs that we haven't washed out. You know, there's like a list of things in the Woods household that we should have picked up, or like.
Yeah, anything is better, and let's just put it this way. All right, so there's 5 of us here right now. None of us all 5 of us are going to vote. None of us are going to vote for Donald Trump.
All
so
right.
basically, this is just a sewing circle, so I can talk about the little fucking things that I find petty about fucking Cory Booker.
Well, I will say, though, I do have some standards about our nominee and whether I will vote for them. And that means, and what I require of our Democratic nominee, is that they have a pulse and enough working digits to operate a veto stamp.
Wow. That's pretty tough.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So, as far as Elizabeth
Hold on,
Warren
guys.
goes,
I can't. Yeah.
What's that?
Did we just lose 2 people on this call?
No.
I don't think so.
This is great radio.
Yeah, it's great radio. It's all right. So while Dave catches up, the main
I can't hear. I can't hear or see anything.
Well, guess what? Everybody else is hearing you say that. But
Hey.
okay. But no, like, as far as Elizabeth Warren, I think Elizabeth Warren has great policy cred. She's, of course, she fucking flubbed the shit out of that whole Pocahontas bullshit. But every time you hear somebody call her Pocahontas, that person is racist. That's hands down. Period. End of story. Boom.
Right. I mean, that's pretty well behind us for now.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's the candidate.
It'll come back up.
But
But like in the first debate, nobody came at her.
Right.
Yeah,
Like,
she was kind of left alone to like just give out her little spiel, like whatever she wanted to. Nobody came at her. Unlike in the second debate, everybody was fucking throwing at Biden because that's what you do for the guy who's like 15 points ahead of you. You throw at him.
I will say, to make big, like, sweeping, like, generalizations about the 2 debates, though, I felt like the people in debate
That's
number
what
2
we do here on the Woodscast.
wanted to be president, though. I felt like they played it safe a lot on the first debate, and I actually started snoozing off there for a minute, like in the middle, because it was pretty boring at a point. I didn't feel that way at all. I was pretty excited throughout the whole thing for debate number 2. So
Yeah, the first debate had more people who are running for Secretary of the Interior.
right.
Yeah. Well, and I get the people in the first debate that weren't going head to head with the guy who was 15 points ahead of them.
I mean, that's true. That's
so,
very true.
So they're just trying to play it safe and let's just get to the third debate and see what the fucking what shakes out then. I don't know. It's what I thought was absolutely hilarious was the and Adam and John. I know you already know this is the case. Shay, this is probably not in your wheelhouse. You don't pay attention to a lot of this shit, but. We started the infinite cycle of thought pieces about how the Democrats are in complete disarray, free fall. They all hate each other. They will never ever settle on a candidate, and Donald Trump has already won the 2020 election. Believe it or not, Alex Jones did a special every night for the debates. He was hammered drunk during both of them. And subsequently has missed every daytime transmission, quote unquote, after the debates. He has not been back in the studio since. I think he's on a bender of all benders.
Yeah.
But he is a Tulsi Gabbard. Like he said, the right wing is really fishtailing behind Tulsi Gabbard. I don't really. The only thing I can pin to that is that she does have a history of being anti-LGBTQ, but she has come out and said she'd made a mistake. She's evolved on that. That's fine. We're not going to hold everybody's. Biden right now is trying to actively defend shitty decisions he made decades ago, and then when the Democratic politic as a whole was yeah, you probably should shut up about that. He's no, but I want absolution.
He there was, I can't remember where it was. I heard it or read it, but it was some campaign analyst that makes money to say these things on TV or something had made a good point about how that is a conscious decision of his campaign, and that Biden is not going to apologize for things he's done.
Right.
And he's banking on the voters that a lot of his voters are going to be older voters, and he's banking that those older voters will understand the context of the decisions he made in the 70s. But I don't.
There's also a psychological thing of if you like apologize for something, you're basically you're
saying
pointing to a weakness. Yeah.
Whereas it's the Donald Trump school of politics. If you never admit you made a mistake, supporters don't have to either.
Right, and I think he's making a play for being the Democratic version of Trump right now versus being, hey, I was the vice president for Barack Obama.
What the fuck did I just stumble back in on?
Dave's reconnectivity just reconnected, and what we were talking about is how Joe Biden has, in the last couple days, has basically refused to apologize for some of the shitty decisions.
Oh yeah,
back in the 50s and 60s, and everything the problem is an intellectual person with critical thinking skills will say, oh yeah, that was a decision you made back in the 60s, and it does not translate 1-to-1 to how you would behave today. But Joe Biden also is like, fuck off. You can't attack me for that shit. I just want absolution.
Which is very combative about it.
Yeah,
all you have to do is just say, hey, that was dumb. You know, he can pull the grandpa. It was a different time. Well, and I'm actually really sorry about it. Honestly, I do believe in redemption for most things politically. Right. I think that can totally happen. And that's all he has to ask for. Honestly, right. With the way that especially culture with people our age is gravitating, is that we can appreciate it when someone's like, yeah, fucked up. So what? Just admitting to all that stuff, or that he's changed his stance on anything. I actually trust a candidate more that says that they've had their mind changed on something like that. Unless it's something major like healthcare reform or women's reproductive rights or anything like that.
There's also the thought that he's still used to being in the Senate, that he kind of has this belief that you have to come to some unanimous decision, that
the old Senate,
and the Republicans are going to come around and help him out, and I think he's kind of missing that. But I mean, I generally feel like that he's a good man deep down, even though he's playing the Democrat Trump right now. I mean, that's really the card he's playing, and it may or may not work.
That's a card. I don't know if I call it that. I get your point.
Let me throw out a scenario, and I would like your guys' response on this. God damn, excuse me. One of the many reasons that people will point to or dry hump for the reasons that Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 election was that we had a Democratic primary that was a little bit more divisive than anybody wanted to. And you had the quote-unquote Bernie bros that when Bernie Sanders did not win the nomination did not quote-unquote fall in line with Hillary Clinton. I was never me personally, I was never anti-Bernie. I just knew that when they went into the southern states, he was going to get his clock cleaned, and he did. Those just states weren't going to vote for Bernie the way that the northern states were going to. That was my opinion. It happened. Whatever. So there's this fear, and there was this, and you can Google this and come up with a dozen different examples of people with far-ranging percentages of the quote-unquote Bernie bros, and I don't particularly like that phrase, but it's what the politic elite use.
It stuck, dude.
It stuck, and it's funny how many drunk guys are run into at a bar that are like, no man, Bernie 1,000%. I'm like, yeah, but what if we have to have somebody else? They're like, no, fuck it, only Bernie. I'm like, that doesn't help out. That doesn't help out. Yeah. Yeah, but whatever. So there's ranging percentages of Bernie bros that didn't envelop and then dovetail behind a Clinton candidacy, and that was one of the reasons that people can point to that she lost. I personally think that a lot of people just fucking lied during polling and said, yeah, I'm not going to vote for Donald Trump, because they thought he was kind of a racist, and They didn't want to be stamped like that. That's neither here nor there. I don't think we have that problem right now. If the leader, right now it's Joe Biden, were to flame the fuck out, which there are signs that his campaign is kind of in the early stages of flailing about his answers to these, older race questions and
Let's not forget the nothing will fundamentally change thing that everybody was making fun of.
That's taken out of context. I'll defend Joe on that one, but maybe I don't want to change the subject. But
no, Adam's exactly right. That was taken out of context.
It's not smart enough, and it does not matter that it's out of context.
Adam is very correct. It was taken out of context. Shay's exactly right that Sean Hannay's going to hammer down on that for every night of the week.
But
let's just say,
go ahead.
Let's just say that Joe Biden flames out tomorrow. Like, he is driving a car and just plows through a busloads of nuns. Just, kills all of them. Right? Just flames right the fuck out. I don't think that the Democratic Party right now is going to be, hemming and hawing about who to fall behind, because when your first choice is when your first choice is Joe Biden, and your second, third, and fourth choice are all, pretty much equal with Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and Kamala Harris, I think that we won't have this, Bernie bro not showing up problem. I think everybody's like, all right, well, Biden's out. We like these other ones. And
I think you'll have more engagement, honestly.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
At least that's my
yeah, and I mean, you'll have more engagement because everybody's like, oh, man. Well, yeah, I'm glad that you bring that up. That's an optimistic outlook, and that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. I mean, the majority of this of the voting population is liberal, right? The problem we always have a turnout problem. I'm wondering what the numbers for turnout are going to be for this presidential election. I bet this is going to be on par with what election was that? Was that after Nixon?
76.
76,
the election you're talking about?
Yeah, where it had the highest percentage voter turnout of all time for a presidential election. I mean, I think just that alone is going to be we're actually going to need that. I think if we want to fucking get Trump off the fucking throne. He's not going to advocate that shit.
Well, and the good thing is if we were to have that type of turnaround, I think that, it would make taking the Senate possible. But I think if you're talking about turnout that we've had over previous years, that it's probably not going to happen, and that's going to hamstring whoever would become president.
Yeah, well, there's already reports now that the interest that's been generated by such a large Democratic field, and the fact that Donald Trump is such a polarizing figure, and is already trying to, the right-wing machine, quote-unquote, Donald Trump, per se, is already trying to select a candidate he wants to run against. After the debates, Donald Trump went out, I'm getting ahead of myself. These statistical guys say that we're looking at a tsunami of voter turnout for the 2020 election. So whenever that happens, that usually favors a more Democratic turnout, because when more people vote Democratic. When less people vote, more people vote Republican. That is a statistical fact. But
voter suppression is built into the Republican Party for this very reason.
It's a real thing. Yeah. But as we talk right now, there's already some really fucking okay. So already since Kamala, I'm sorry. Let me parse this out correctly. Since the debate has ended, Donald Trump, who was in Japan on the other side of the party, the minute was over, he said it was boring. He said that Kamala Harris really didn't have that great of an exchange with Joe Biden. That Joe Biden really did take away the win in that debate. Donald Trump and his campaign has already picked the people they want to run against. They want to run against they want to run against Joe Biden. They don't want to fucking run against Kamala Harris.
There's already a whole movement on Twitter of right wingers trying to say, she's not black because she's part Jamaican, part Indian.
Exactly.
Then there's a group saying, well, she may not actually be eligible to be the president. Starting the whole birther crap for her.
Exactly.
So
one of those people was Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Of course it was.
Why the fuck did he say that?
That weak-chinned that weak-chinned little motherfucker shared a tweet that said that she wasn't really black enough to represent black Americans because her parents were Indian and Hawaiian, if I'm not mistaken.
Indian. Jamaican.
Yeah.
Indian and Jamaican. I'm sorry, Indian and Jamaican. So he shared a meme that said that she wasn't black enough to represent black Americans, and then immediately deleted it. So like, yeah, you're racist. It doesn't matter that you weren't racist for that long. You're racist.
There were other stuff saying that she doesn't know what African Americans are facing because, like, her ancestors didn't come from Africa. How do you think people who got, like, black people got to Jamaica to begin with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, I'm sorry, the Republican Party likes to talk about how much the quote, they love this term, the left. Everybody who's more liberal than they are is just the left. They're like, well, every time you're losing an argument, you just call us racist. Well, you know why? It's because you're fucking racist.
Yeah, exactly. And they're like, oh, well, you're just from the left, and you're, I like the, I get this a lot from my father-in-law. Just like, we can't talk because we swing at each other. We have yelled at each other in restaurants. It's ugly, but
nice.
Have you been removed from a casual dining restaurant?
I have removed myself from a casual dining restaurant.
Well,
With a manager
that's not asked you to leave.
Yeah.
But if you've been cut off at an Applebee's.
But I would have been. I would have been. Yes.
It's long been my stance that I will never.
It's one of those I quit.
Well, it's long been my stance that I have never been asked to leave a casual dining restaurant, and if I do, it will definitely be by the police and not the day manager. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh. Either that or a phone call from Applebee's corporate.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were saying you and your father-in-law don't get along.
What's that? Yeah. So
Before we interrupted.
No, it's all good. I actually lost my train of thought because of Dad. So that's good. That's we can put a pin in that then, I guess.
So, as a whole.
At Applebee's.
Yeah.
$2 Brutus.
Yeah, one of the things that millennials are apparently killing. Whatever. So
No,
as a
sensitive. That's right. That was my point. That's why I'm always so. It's like, oh, you're too sensitive, and then if you look at the Republican Party, and motherfucker, they are the most sensitive people on the face of the earth. That's my whole.
They get so butthurt.
Oh yeah, big time.
They're literally having a now. I guess it's not fair to attach this straight pride parade to the Republican Party, but I have to assume that 99.9% of the people that will participate in a straight pride parade in Boston would vote Republican.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying
99% being pretty conservative.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all Donald Trump supporters are racist, but all racists are Donald Trump supporters.
That's kind of how that idiom goes.
It's possible you might get some tourists that get like lost.
You know what?
End up in the parade by accident.
I saw a collection of bumper stickers once because every rule has to have an exception.
Right.
So a collection of bumper stickers. There was a Confederate flag bumper sticker with like a these colors don't run nonsense on it, and like 4 different NRA bumper stickers, and like the collection. You know what they were.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Kane flag, and then there was like a Clinton Kane bumper sticker. So
Really?
also, like, the guy also had like a Union Proud bumper sticker. So I assume he's like a union pipe fitter who continues to vote Democratic because he's like a union pipe fitter who like the fact like his union card is the only thing keeping him voting Democratic. But those people are out there.
Yeah, well, I mean that's how.
He sounds like a plant to me.
Hey, the union thing's it's a pretty big deal. You never know.
It is.
My dad was that's kind of where my Democratic roots come from. My dad was a union man, so that means something. And my dad's probably he's come around a lot. He's probably back in the old days very conservative, socially. And the fact that he told me like, man, that gay guy is pretty good.
Yeah.
The union might have kept him around for that.
That's big. I mean, that's a lot of people, and those were the people that we lost in the last. Those were the people that elected Trump, essentially, in the end. It was those like that population of people, like like working class, like union people, like all Rust Belt workers, basically. And what you're in West Virginia? Is that where you grew up?
That's where I'm originally from.
Okay, yeah. I mean, in West Virginia, I mean, coal mining, all that. I mean, anybody that was in the union was all solidly Democratic. But I mean, a lot of those people were vulnerable, like last time, and they were fed up because they were told the economy was bad, and it was, and nobody could get a job, and it was tough, and a lot of those people got scared and voted for Donald Trump, and it's unfortunate, and that's what we should. I think having the broader field is absolutely help that, because there's not like you can't focus on two people just duking it out the whole time that are basically polar opposites of one party's political ethos. I think it's good. I think who was that? Was that you that brought that up, or was it you, Shay, that brought that up? Who said that?
What's this? No, that was me.
What?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. Like having Adam brought up the fact that there are those reachable people that have all the stickers but there's still the union sticker. Yeah. Well, and like not to blast put our parents on blast, Shay, but like when Shay and I were growing up, our parents didn't really like espouse a lot of liberal views. They just raised us to be like, these gay people are totally fine. They're people. Right. And, like to treat everybody. And then like when we like, I don't know about if Shay noticed this, but it wasn't until I was like in college and our parents were starting to like look at retirement, and they like, I mean, our father got like, I didn't know how fucking liberal our dad was.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he retired. And he's like, "Are you?" Then like we'd sit there and open crack a beer open with him. He's like, "Can you believe this dumb shit that Donald Trump's doing?" And then we just have a monologue prepared for us about how, and I'm like, and he never said that shit when we were in high school, and neither did our mother.
No.
Like we knew that they respected everybody for who they were, but like we didn't know that they were that fucking liberal. Like I guess we just got it by osmosis.
See, when I was raised, it wasn't so much being liberal or what have you. It was like, God damn it, you're gonna be a Democrat.
Yeah, exactly. You're a Democrat. Yeah. And that's yeah.
All right.
I mean,
all right.
Fortunately, I agree with it, and I still am.
All right. So let's just. Oh, go ahead, Adam.
I was gonna say those of us on Eastern Time need to go to bed soon.
Yeah, probably.
That's what I was saying. Let's fishhorn this down with a little bit of fun stuff. So, as a palate cleanser, politics aside, Shay, do you know that Iron Sky's got a sequel coming out? Yeah. Have you guys seen Iron Sky? Everybody here?
Yeah.
Solid. It's good
Dave?
stuff.
Oh, guys. All right, so Iron Sky is about a breakaway faction of Nazis that went to the moon and built spaceships, and they've been there ever since the 40s. And then they come back in, like, what is it, the early 2000s, Shay?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. It is the best part of, like, low-budget sci-fi nonsense there is. They use a special serum to turn a black guy into an Aryan. It's the worst type. It's the worst type.
It's ridiculous, dude.
It's the worst type of reverse blackface you can think of. I watched the movie, and the female lead Nazi I've always found very attractive. I don't know if it was her shitty accent or the uniform. These are both questions I don't want answered. Alright? I'm just gonna blame it on the booze.
Right.
Yeah. But the sequel involves going to the center of course, the Hollow Earth to rendezvous with I'm almost positive a lizard person.
Oh God.
Hitler.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a lizard person Hitler who is riding a Tyrannosaurus Rex in the trailer.
It looks pretty great.
Are they gonna bring Nordics into this? Because if they do, I don't know. I'm gonna have an erection.
There is no reason not to see this movie. Yeah, right. I saw Dark Phoenix. Anybody else see that?
No, I forgot it was out. I'm gonna have a lot of spare.
You missed it.
It's not in theaters anymore?
They're yanking it so fast. It's not good.
No, I know. It looked bad.
I'm
really pumped. I want to go see that Child's Play movie. I really do. The new one. Everything I've read about it says like, "Hey, wow, that was way better than I thought it would be. Not great, but man, that was fun."
Well, isn't the new Child's Play movie supposed to be? It's like Wi-Fi connected to your whole house, and that's a problem.
Yeah, well, it's an AI Jimmy Jank.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
like but I love how people are real upset with this. They're like, I've got a lot of friends who are like, well, I won't see it because they changed his origin. I'm like, you have a problem with that, but not the other like fucking 7 complete shit movies they've made for that series.
Oh, yeah.
Like the first 2 were legitimately fun horror movies, and after that, they're all shit.
Well, I actually reject the fact that a 1.5 foot tall doll with a knife can kill me. No,
Yeah.
I'm punting that little motherfucker so fast.
Pick them up, put them in the oven. There you go.
Yeah, we're good. I am making a cocktail while this little fucker roasts.
You could fight that thing with a leaf blower.
Exactly. Actually, all afternoon we'll make a game of it. Yeah. John, to your point, you saw
Toy Story 4.
Toy Story 4.
Yeah.
I still have not seen Toy Story 5 because I don't think I have the emotional fortitude to do that.
You mean 3?
Yeah, you said
3.
5.
I'm sorry.
I don't think anybody's seen Toy Story 5.
All right. Well, I don't think I can handle that one either.
I was gonna say 4. 4. I kind of thought throughout most of it, hey, like this isn't nearly as emotional as 3. And then it got to like the last like 10 minutes, and I really teared up a little bit. So, brace yourself. It was actually the first. This is what happens when you like have kids now. It's the first movie I think I've seen in theaters like in like over 3.5 years. It's that bad.
I don't have kids, and I would still see the fucking thing. So, I don't know what that says about me, but all right.
Good to know.
Yeah, I guess the last thing I want to bring up so we can let Adam go to bed because he's on Eastern time zone. This is how basically. Oh, John is too. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like John's too. Like we really fuck the guys on the Eastern time zone because Shay.
You guys have to go to work tomorrow too.
Yeah, they gotta go to work.
Oh, that sucks, man. I got tomorrow.
And they're a solid 2 hours ahead of you.
Yeah, no, I got it. It's like almost 12 o'clock, and you guys gotta go to work tomorrow.
Yeah. So. What we're going to do here is the last thing I want to ask is is anybody watching Good Omens on Amazon?
No, but I've heard
watching
a
it
lot
right
of
now
good shit about it.
in the other room.
Watched it, read the book. It's fantastic. Go do both.
See, I'm about halfway through the book. As soon as I'm done with the book, I watch the show. We have to talk about the fact that a Christian group has started a petition. Now, this is about a week and a half old now, but a Christian group started a petition wanting Netflix to cancel Good Omens.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, that's right.
That was great.
I did appreciate Netflix response.
What's that, Adam?
I really appreciated Netflix's response to it, where they promised not to make any episodes of Good Omens.
Exactly. And that's exactly what they had to do. Like the second I saw the petition, I was like, Netflix has to play into this. And Netflix went out and said, we promise not to make any more episodes. And Amazon responded saying they promised to not make any more episodes of Stranger Things.
That was good. All new Stranger Things drops this week, too, doesn't it?
Yes, it does on the 4th of July.
Yeah. So, one of the things, I love the fact that, Neil Gaiman has a great show that apparently everybody loves. I'm halfway through the book. I hope it, is just as good as American Gods. 2, I like the fact that Christians are making themselves look stupid without any help from me. And then 3, I like that these companies are actually have a sense of humor about this shit.
Well, let's not paint several billion people with the brush of a fringe group of weirdos.
Too late.
What?
Suck it.
Yep.
Yeah. No, we're done. It's painted.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the other thing before we just fucking cancel it out, I'm actually kind of really over people starting a petition for fuck everything, because there was other than the petition to have, Always Sunny, Frank from Always Sunny,
Danny DeVito.
Thank you, Danny DeVito play Wolverine.
No,
I'm totally
behind
that one.
That's just fun. That's just good old fashioned.
Yeah, that's fun. But there's apparently a petition right now to remove Brie Larson from the
This is getting out of hand.
Right.
Let people
Captain
make
Marvel.
shitty movies. Let people make shitty movies. Let people make good movies. Like if people have a say in this shit, you're just gonna wind up with a way more mediocre movies.
Yeah, it's not
bullshit.
about whether or not that movie was shitty or not. There's a petition that has almost reached its goal to remove Brie Larson as Captain Marvel because they want a gay woman of color in that role.
What?
Well, I mean, just because a petition gets enough signatures doesn't mean shit. I mean, that doesn't.
Exactly.
It's just a petition. Hey, Shay, I'd like to petition you.
Like I understand you want a very prominent Marvel character to represent the LGBTQ community, but there is nothing.
I thought the Flash was gay. Is the Flash not gay?
No, but actually in the next iteration of the Eternals, the next Marvel phase, the Eternals, they're gonna have Hercules be gay, which isn't really a big stretch because if you know
they're just doing that because he's Greek. They're making the oh, god damn it.
Well, all right, whatever. But
no, I'm just kidding. I was just fucking around, dude.
Right, but like that's not even that much of a stretch. But like fucking yanking Brie Larson out of everything because of a petition is just dumb. It's just dumb.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the redesigned Sonic the Hedgehog. Isn't that some dumb shit that they did? And now it looks even worse.
No. Hold on. That was actually needed. That was some.
It looks worse now. It's more nightmarish.
I don't think it is. We haven't seen the new one, but the old one made my dick go inside
kept the
me.
experiment going instead of starting it over from the beginning.
Let me tell you right now. If we released a Sonic the Hedgehog movie that looked like that, I would never get an erection ever. It's insulting.
like ever again in your whole life.
Nope.
It's impressive.
Nope. Yeah.
Huh.
All right, that's
interesting.
All right, guys, we got to wrap this up so all of our East Coast guys can go to sleep.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
I appreciate everybody. I kind of want to have you all on because in my head, you all kind of fit into a niche of the Democratic Party, and to my surprise, you all rotated about one niche around. Yeah, like nobody here gave an answer that I really expected they would give, and actually that's the best thing.
Well, let's hear what you thought we were gonna say.
Yeah. All right, that's great. I honestly thought Shay would be the I don't really give a shit about it. We all live in hell. None of these guys are gonna help me. I expected Dave to be a shade less than that, kind of more the independent guy. Like, you know what? Not gonna vote for Donald Trump, but these are all shitty candidates. John was gonna be the more real leftist kind of response, but like, you know, not a corporate Democrat, but like a very, very liberal Democrat. And I expected Adam to be the very, you know, kind of centrist Democrat and wanted everybody to be, you know, well represented and represent us in the 2020 election.
I'm wrong. I'm still a card carrier of the establishment trademarks, but.
No, I'm throwing around establishment a little bit heavy there. That's my thing. But I expected Dave and Shay to be more like, oh fuck it, the world's on fire.
I mean, in the sense that I don't really give a shit about who. Like, I'm not really giving a shit about all the candidates or the debates too heavily because it's just too much right now. Like, it's not going to matter until they whittle some of them down.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of my stance. I'm not going to get too invested until we're down to like 3 or 4.
In the meantime, it's fun to get invested. Like I said, we all know we're all going to vote for somebody who's not Donald Trump on fucking, you know.
Oh
like
yeah.
Could be anybody else.
All right.
So this is a fucking sewing circle, so it's fun to speculate. And it's fun to gossip about some of these bitches, dude.
It did get me. It got me excited. And then, like, looking at the fact that we're still talking about months and months before anybody votes, and then Kentucky, is like the thing's almost over by the time I get to vote. So
it's the same way in West Virginia.
Yeah, we're West Virginia and Kentucky are about the same. When's Illinois vote primary? Do you know?
Off the top of my head, no. It's not much. It's not much earlier than you guys, West Virginia and Kentucky.
Right.
Dave, I feel like ours is it's sooner than a lot of other ones, isn't it? I can't remember when the Colorado primary is.
It is. It's a lot sooner than everybody else's. I mean, and we're kind of stuck out there in the middle of a couple other states. I mean, it's before Super Tuesday. That's for damn sure. So.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's let everybody go to bed. Again, guys, thanks for coming on. Shay, you're always here, so.
Yep.
Eat my
You're still welcome, though.
Yeah. John, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Adam, always welcome.
Thanks for putting up with me.
Not a problem. Dave, good talking to you again.
Thanks for letting me get drunk and yell things.
That's what I do. That's what we do. That's what we're here for.
Yep.
As always, I hope you enjoyed listening to this. Shay and I enjoy the fuck out of doing it, as do everybody else. Apparently, everybody else comes on the podcast likes doing it too. If you want to get a hold of us, bitch, moan, complain, hit us up at thewoodscast1776 at gmail.com, because fuck Alex Jones and all of his shtick. And you can hit us up on Twitter and the Facey Spaces and the My Books at woodscast1776. This is where we, Shay, can you say goodbye to all the nice people?
Toodles.
A rubber band man, just moving, just moving, just moving, 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 just.